Welcome into sportsbookreview.com. I'm Gary.
And I'm Chris.
And this is the College Football Show, week number 18. Do you know what that means?
Yeah, we've been doing this for a while.
The 18th show. That means 4.5 months, basically. We are
without football.
We are coming up on without FBS, I guess.
Okay.
So
I have enjoyed the FCS.
The FCS has been fantastic.
I really have. I'm now a firm believer of it needs to be on the spring because I've given it in the past zero of my attention.
Really? Like you haven't watched?
Not a little bit. Why would I turn an FCS game on when I have 82 big boy college football games to choose from?
Okay. You do have a valid point there. I don't know. I mean, there's been some. I've watched the Dakota Marker several times. Sometimes it's a more interesting matchup than some of the crap that's thrown out there. Because we have complained about some of these matchups.
I agree. Yes, I do complain about those things a lot. But it's still, I just can't do it. There's nothing in me. I have friends, personal friends that I love and care about who coach kind of big boy high school football.
Yeah.
I ain't going to watch it.
I can understand it.
I'm just not.
If Kevin Kelly was a little closer, you'd
I'd have been. If I lived in the Little Rock area, I'd have been there all the time.
I can understand that. We have got a lot to talk about tonight. Before we get started, go ahead and remind you, down in the description, there is a link, and you can click on that, and it will take you to sbrpicks.com/NCAAF. That is your one-stop shop for all of your college football gambling needs. I'm telling you, every book, every analysis, every line, everything is going to be right there. We got a great crew of writers, a great staff over there. Go and check it out. You're going to be doing yourself a favor. sbrpicks.com/NCAAF. And since you're going to be down there anyway, go ahead and hit that like button and hit the subscribe button. That's going to help us out a ton. We want you in the comments. Jump on in. We want you to be a part of the show. You can help drive our conversation for the next show, et cetera, et cetera. Tell us what topics you want us to talk about. We got a whole long off season. We've had the FCS, and now we're not going to have the FCS.
Yeah,
we're going to start previewing and whatnot, but that's going to be a little closer to the season. We got the rest of May. We got June. Middle of July, we're going to start looking ahead because football starts at the end of August.
Yeah, I was about to say that's when football really starts.
Yeah, so we want you to jump in and tell us what you want to argue about because we will certainly have those arguments. I mean, we tend to do it on every show, but even still, let us know what you want to hear. You can type it into the comments below, or you can reach out to us on Twitter. I am at GaryWCE.
I'm at Chris B. Giannini.
And then you can email as well. If you don't do all the new school social media, whatever, if you don't have a YouTube account, if you don't have a Twitter account, you can always just do the old school method and email us. I'm Gary at winningcureseverything.com.
And I'm Chris at winningcureseverything.com.
And with that said, we are ready to hop into the news of the day or the week or the whatever. Start off, of course, we want to start with some negative, some not great. RIP to former Hawaii quarterback Colt Brennan. He passed away last week. The story behind that was just
pretty awful. Guy with a drug problem. Hours before passing away, goes to a drug rehab facility, asks for help. He is turned away.
They didn't have enough beds.
Because they didn't have enough space for him. And literally hours later, he goes, he shoots up, he hits something with a bunch of fentanyl in it, and it kills him.
Yeah. I mean, it's just terrible.
This is a guy that knew he had a demon.
Tried to get help for it.
Tried to get help for it, and there was no help.
I mean, it's sad, it's awful, and you hear stories like this all the time. Typically, it's not somebody that's a bit of a folk legend.
Yeah,
no. He had a following, man. His 2006 season,
he put Hawaii on the map.
Yeah,
he's the reason I fell in love with watching Hawaii football. Before 100%. Him, it was just a cool place to go to let your team go down there and kick the crap out of somebody.
Yeah, he was the one that really brought it to the forefront.
He made him cool.
Timmy Chang was the one that kind of got that June Jones offense rolling beforehand.
Yeah, I guess.
But he didn't put up the numbers that
not
did.
Colt did. Colt brought him to New Orleans. Yeah, Colt brought him to a Sugar Bowl. That's different.
That is,
that's different. That's when it became real to me.
Yes. So. In that 2006 season, he went 406 out of 559. That is 72.6% completion percentage, 5,549 yards with 58 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. That June Jones offense was humming under him, man. absolutely humming. So, of course, rest in peace. You hate to see that it happen to anybody, but especially when it's, somebody that is a bit of a legend in college football. He was at a smaller school, but everybody knew who he was. Sure. So, along with that, Jake Ehlinger, we didn't talk about it last week, but the week before, Jake Ehlinger, the little brother of quarterback Sam Ehlinger from Texas, passed away. And do we have any details on that?
No, it still hasn't been any released. They know that there was no foul play, and he was just found dead off campus.
And we know what that could sound like.
And the speculation is what it sounds like. It's either an overdose, or a suicide.
Yeah,
which both are awful and tragic. And you've got a 20-something-year-old kid who's in the prime of his life at
the school that he grew up
worshiping.
Yeah,
and he's playing football for this program, and his life ends.
Yeah, and you hate to speculate about what it could have been or anything like that, but at the same time, your mind can't help but wonder.
If he just was driving around the streets of Austin and he had a stroke or a heart attack or some weird heart thing, they would have told us if it was a medical condition.
Felt like that.
The reason they wouldn't say it is because it would be an embarrassment to the family or whatever, and that's understandable, and I get all of those things, but it's sad. It
is.
You're talking about two guys that probably faced demons, but seemed to have life by the balls in their prime.
Yeah, because you never really heard this stuff. Like,
demons are real, man. I just believe that. I believe that we're all fighting stuff.
Well, yes, absolutely. But you never heard like the bad stuff that Colt Brennan was going through. Like you'd hear his name pop up for some of these semi-pro leagues and whatnot, and it was always exciting, right? It's anytime you hear Johnny Football's name pop up for something, it's like, okay, like we might get to watch him play again. But there's things that come with that, man. There's things that come with it. So it's sad, but at least we can honor those two a little bit by talking about them and respecting them here today. So moving on from there, the Egg Bowl. We're going to talk about two guys that you and I love. Yeah. Absolutely love. And that would be Mike Leach and Lane Kiffin, the head coaches of Mississippi State and Ole Miss. It is moving back. The Egg Bowl is moving back to Thanksgiving night. It felt out of place on a Saturday with all the other games last year.
Well, not just last year. I mean, it's been a long time.
No. It was in 2017 through 2019. It was on Thanksgiving.
Was it really?
Yeah.
I missed that.
And in 2020, it was on a Saturday. Just a random.
I knew that.
Whatever. I love this game being a standalone game on Thanksgiving. It needs to be a highlight game. And I understand that there's an NFL game. I get it. There's an NFL game every Thanksgiving night now.
It's going to go head-to-head.
It'll go head-to-head, and that's okay because sometimes those Thanksgiving night games for the NFL are duds.
Trash. Yeah, they've been trash the last couple of years, by the way. Last year we didn't get it, but they've been garbage.
This game, the Egg Bowl, has been on Thanksgiving 23 times previously. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah,
I love this.
We live in the state of Mississippi. This is what we grew up knowing. I didn't know anything else. The NFL didn't used to play at night.
That's true.
They had the two early games, and then that night was just for the Egg Bowl, and the whole country watched. Okay, now not the whole country is going to be watching, but I bet almost all of the South will be watching.
Oh, 100%.
And it's gonna get a lot of eyes because of the two men that lead these teams. I was glad that it was taken off of Thanksgiving for a while. The hatred between Dan Mullen and Hugh Freeze, two of the most unlikable sons of bitches I've ever seen in my life.
Yes.
Running programs better than those programs have ever been ran. But they turned the fire up on the hatred to a level where it was going to burn the house down.
Yes, it was a cesspool for
it was just so much toxic vitriol. As a casual fan that is not a fan of either of these teams, but I have no hatred. I'm very agnostic to both of these teams. I found it very off-putting
There were fights before every game, like
Yes.
not every game throughout the season, but every Egg Bowl there was fights between the players and the coaches, and
the hatred
awful.
and the fans and stuff. Now, when Ole Miss hired Lane, which happened first, I thought best thing ever happened. Lane is going to turn this fire down. He knows how. He's self-deprecating.
Yeah.
Hugh and Dan are both two people you can make fun of a lot, but they do not handle being made fun of really well. Lane is perfectly okay with making fun of himself, which is going to ease some tension. It didn't matter who Mississippi State hired. It was going to be okay because Lane was going to turn it down.
Yes.
And they hired the other person that could make this thing perfect, which is a guy who is goofy, quirky, totally comfortable being goofy and quirky, knows that he doesn't fit in any room he's ever walked in.
Doesn't take anything too seriously.
No, nothing. He's just a goofball that's a football savant, and now you have two fun fan bases instead of two asshole fan bases. I think it's amazing. Now, this is what Thanksgiving is about.
Yes.
This is what we're going to go, and we're going to play football, and we're going to want to beat each other bad. But we're going to make fun of each other instead of it being mean and hurtful. It's now going to be funny. And if it's not funny, nobody wants to hear it.
Yeah.
And I like that. I like that.
Two coaches with a mutual admiration for each other.
Yeah, they really do
that
get
enjoy
along.
each other. Yeah.
They enjoy each other, and they love picking on each other.
Yes.
And they're great at picking on each other.
I was about to say they're really good at it.
So
yeah, I'm okay with it.
This is supposed to be Thanksgiving night.
I love it.
I would not
love it.
This is the only game where I'm totally okay going head to head against the NFL. I'm not afraid of it at all. The people who are going to watch this game are going to watch it. The people who are going to watch the NFL game or not are going to watch that. You can work the clicker to go back and forth. I'm good with that. At some point in time, that NFL game has a 50-50 shot of being a dog game. This game, I just can't imagine, as long as these two men are at the helm, this game ever being a dog game.
It will. It doesn't matter what the score is. There's always going to be something worth watching on it. Always.
Last year, we had a quarterback in Mississippi State that nobody had ever heard of before that put up numbers and made throws that I haven't seen guys on Sundays making those throws. And that guy's probably going to lose his job this year.
It's
like he's probably possible. Like that's how good dudes just show up and make plays. It's gonna be fun.
I can't wait.
This is what Thanksgiving's supposed to be about. This kind of football.
Yes, I agree with you. I agree. Ohio State has banned a masseuse who was targeting football players. Now, if any of you have paid attention in the NFL, obviously you understand Deshaun Watson is going through some things.
Yeah.
He's dealing with some issues. We have the exact opposite situation going on.
We got a little switcheroo thing going here.
Yes, at Ohio State, they have banned a masseuse who had no affiliation with the school, was not hired by the school, whatever, but this was a woman that was targeting football players. There were no NCAA rules that were violated. At least that's what Ohio State said. And basically, she was initiating sex from these players and then demanding payment for the massage therapy.
Yeah.
Very interesting situation. Yeah. Now, first off, of course they're going to ban this person. But second, I haven't heard of it going that way before. This is kind of new for me. Like I've heard of it in like solo instances. This was multiple players, like multiple athletes. It of course we're a football show. This wasn't just football players. It was several football players and more.
I got some. There's a little bit of hustle here that I respect and appreciate. Like she's out here and she's working hard for her money, but I think it's not the sex part that turns me off. It's the hustling guys for money part that turns me off. There's very much a predator and a prey type situation thing here that's never a healthy thing for somebody to do. I don't think she was trying to get these guys in trouble, though. I think she saw a bunch of young guys who, you're young guys, you like sex, and you have – listen, you go to Ohio State and you play athletics at Ohio State, which means everybody in the world outside of people who run the NCAA know they got disposable cash.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay? They getting she heard about the McDonald's bags full of cash being dropped off, and she said, oh, yeah, I can go make $400 or $500 in a night.
Yeah.
Let's just go do this.
And so, yes, okay, so you respect the hustle, but
she had a good business plan. She's got caught.
Makes sense. Cheers to her.
I mean,
whatever she's doing now, obviously.
Cheers to her.
I'll tell you this. How can Ohio State ban her if she has no affiliation with the school?
Yeah, that's a weird thing to try to do. Basically, you're punishing the kids if they get caught associating themselves with her.
I guess that would make sense. I mean, if she's...
Because if it's a mutual thing and they want to pay for somebody to give them a massage,
my guess is
there's nothing Ohio State can do really with
my guess is that the players kind of turn this in. Like, she claims that she has all these NFL and whatever guys. And
I'm going to bet during the Deshaun Watson thing, somebody has said, hey, we probably need to be careful. What if this lady starts claiming we did those things to her unconsensual?
Yeah.
And that's when the team was like, all right, what's going on? No. Y'all need to stay away from this woman. We can't control her. Right now, this is all consensual, and she's happy with the agreement. What happens if she starts asking for 200 instead of 100 and you say no? Now it's he forced himself on me. I have all these damning text messages, and now this guy's career is ruined before it even gets started.
Yeah.
What happens if he gets to be, Justin Fields, and he's a first-round draft pick, and now he just got $30 million, and now I got text messages and I got pictures of us. Big boy, why don't you break me off $1 million? And
then it becomes a whole other
and it's a different thing. The coaches are right to say, no, you can't. Yeah. I don't know how they enforce that other than just showing the guys Deshaun Watson and saying, don't put yourself out here like this.
Agreed. The Pac-12 is they have hired. They have hired, not is.
Yeah.
They have hired a new commissioner. And his name is George Kliavkoff. Now, it took me a little while to figure that out.
That's one extra cough that you don't need.
Here's how I found that out.
They need to drop that.
I had to go back and find videos of this man giving seminars and whatnot where he actually said his name. That's the only way I could have figured it out because there was no pronunciation like online that I could find, anything like that. So Kliavkoff is his name, and he was the former MGM executive and whatnot. He has been involved in professional sports like the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight, Mayweather-McGregor, like UFC fights, big-time events that had, like Dave Chappelle coming out to Las Vegas, playing at the MGM, like all this kind of, he's been around the entertainment side. He has also been around, he worked with NBC Universal for a while, so he understands the media rights side of this. This is an incredibly outside-the-box hire. I think I'm okay with this. I don't like the fact that he has no idea what's going on those college campuses. He is somebody that doesn't have a background in that, but he does understand the media side of things, and that was the biggest issue that we had with the Pac-12 under Larry Scott. He put his conference, his teams, at a disadvantage because they were not able to make enough money because his idea was, we're going to start our own network, and we're going to have our own media rights, and we're going to try and third-party them out. And it did not work, like, at all.
At all.
So
huge embarrassing failure.
Yes, incredibly embarrassing. This, I think, has the chance to work. He immediately came out, by the way, and said, I'm talking first statement, like the first paragraph of his introduction, he came out and said, by the way, we are in favor of expanding the playoff, which makes perfect sense because they've only had 2 playoff teams in the entire existence of the playoff.
That's right.
One in Oregon in the first season, and then Washington in 2016 hadn't had another one since. So it makes perfect sense, right? Because a lot of people just kind of forget that there's like these 12 teams over on this side of the world, and and it. To be fair, it's not been a good product. It hadn't been a good product at all. I don't know that they've deserved to be in the top 4.
Well, no, they don't deserve to be in the top 4, but the conversation of the top 4 is ridiculous, and we've covered that a million times.
I think at the least we're going to get 8. We've talked about this in the past shows, the college football playoff expansion, all the different options that are on the table, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's good that he's coming out and saying this. Give me your thoughts on this, and then I'm gonna take you somewhere else.
So I like the hire. I'm trying to figure this out. Why does a conference commissioner need to know anything about what's going on campus? That's not his job.
He's the conference commissioner for all of the sports.
I understand that.
On campus.
Oh, so, that's fine, but he's not the athletic director, right?
Agreed.
Okay, so he's not fundraising. He doesn't need to know. He needs to know, I got to find a way to promote women's volleyball. I got to find a way to promote UCLA girls softball team that's really good. Like, I got to find a way to promote all these sports, not just football, all of them. But I don't need to know what in the hell's going on your campus.
Agreed.
That's not my job.
I think that it would have been nice for him to be able to have some kind of a rapport with those ADs. As of right now, I don't know.
See, this is where I think we have a problem. This is why college football takes so long to make changes, is because the people working in the front offices of all these conference commissioners all have too much of a rapport with the presidents and the ADs. And so they're letting the presidents and the ADs slowly drag their feet into the 21st century. This man's going to grab those presidents and ADs by the haunches, and they're going to fling their ass into the 21st century.
Okay, that is...
Because he doesn't give a damn about them. You hired me to do a job. Let me do my job. This guy's from Vegas, okay? He's worked in the casinos. He's very used to telling people, if I'm good at something, stay the hell out of my way and let me be good at it. Let me make you money. And that's what these schools and presidents need. You want your school to be good? You figure out your school. You run your school. But for a conference, I drive this ship.
Okay. I love your passion. I get that.
Because I'll tell you this, if I was given a job like that, that's damn sure how I would be. It's the same way with the athletic director. Leave the checkbook, hit the door.
You are describing Larry Scott to a T.
Yeah, but Larry Scott was bad at his job, Gary. Hang on.
That's what I'm saying.
Hang on. Just because Larry Scott was a failure doesn't mean that's not the right way to lead. He was just a bad leader.
Okay.
Like,
I do know
the good old boy network ain't ever going to get things to make changes. We're just going to stay in the same mold that we've always been in forever, as long as the same people keep running the same shit.
There are 5 power conferences, right? And we can go back and forth about the AAC. We can talk about the Mountain West. I understand, but
I got a power 6.
But for the basis of this conversation, we'll go with the 5. Okay. There were 5 power conferences that led the charge on what was going to happen with college football in the 2020 season during the pandemic, right?
Yes.
2 of those conferences, the Pac-12 and the Big Ten, had conference commissioners that did not have a rapport with those ADs. And they shut it down.
Yeah, but...
And then the other 3...
You're using correlation as causation, and that's not right. Both of those commissioners and both of those conferences are over areas that are extremely left-leaning and were very locked down, don't do anything. This was a political thing. This had nothing to do with... It didn't matter if you take all the conference commissioners and just throw them in a big like ball in a Yahtzee cup and dump them out. You're going to get the exact same outcome. Because
you might be right about
people that live and support in those areas believe differently than the people that live and support in the other areas. That was a political move, 100%. Had nothing to do with the 2 conference commissioners. Larry Scott was a failure at every level, and it had nothing to do with anybody other than Larry Scott bad at his job.
You do have a valid point. Now, along with that, there has been talk the last couple of days. This happened at the end of last week. There's been talk. There are now rumors circling about the Pac-12 possibly discussing reopening conference expansion, right? Yeah. Now, we've talked about playoff expansion. Now let's talk about the idea of the Pac-12 adding teams.
Best thing this conference could do.
I tend to agree.
But they need to go hunting for big game. This is not a conference that needs to go out and pick up another
BYU,
Utah, and Colorado. Like that was a bullshit expansion. Okay, That's just, let's call that what that is. Everybody else got bigger. We got to get bigger too. Let's take these two cool places and let's bring them in.
Now, the issue, so the rumor, of course, right now, the first one is BYU. That seems to make the most sense. Almost every Pac-12 team has played them over the last 3-4 years. Obviously, none of them did last year because of the conference-only schedule. But BYU would make sense if they're not able to get the big fishes that they're trying to get, right? That would make perfect sense. BYU has a massive
BYU is a lot bigger than Utah and Colorado probably combined. Fan base wise, yes.
Yeah, probably so.
Not even close.
Probably, yeah.
Not even a little bit.
You have a valid point there. Yes. The other discussion is they're discussing the idea of Oklahoma jumping from the Big 12 over to the Pac-12,
which is what they talked about back when they tried
years
to
and years
get
ago. Yeah.
Colorado and Utah, Oklahoma,
in Texas.
Which was stupid, but that's neither here nor there.
The legislature in the state of Oklahoma, because those are both state schools, won't allow Oklahoma to leave for another conference without taking Oklahoma State with it.
Yep.
In Texas, it's kind of the same thing. They don't want, Texas to leave without Texas Tech or whatever, right? There's TCU and Baylor are the private schools, and then there's whatever, right? Everybody's kind of tied together.
Well, Texas is only tied to Texas Tech now. There are no other state schools in the Big 12 anymore.
Right. So, but they're not going to go after Texas.
Oh, no. Why would you?
They're going after Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I think I like this idea. The idea of an Oregon-Oklahoma game, the idea of USC-Oklahoma, Oklahoma State against Utah, whatever. These matchups sound really intriguing. Yeah. And right now, CBS doesn't have a dance partner for college football.
That's right. They go get the Pac-12 with Oklahoma and Oklahoma State in there.
And all of a sudden, you got some national games that are worth showing at 2:30 p.m.
I want to see Mike Gundy on the West Coast.
I would love it.
I want that mullet flowing in Los Angeles.
The rattlesnake.
Yeah.
I'm all good with it, man. I'm
this
talking myself into this.
I think this guy's going to be good for this conference.
What do you think he does after, what does the job entail after he gets the media rights?
You have to run the media company, Gary. You can't just, you have to make sure these things stay copacetic.
I know, but the fact that he doesn't, I guess
when you make your deal, and right now they've got a weird ass bullshit deal with Fox. Okay, when you make your deal and Fox says I want USC to play at noon on East Coast time, you have to have strong enough contracts where you tell Fox stick it. We're not doing that. I'm not having USC playing at 8 a.m. 9 a.m. body clock.
Yeah,
I'm not doing that. No, stick it. Somebody's got to run this thing, okay?
I do agree.
It's not just we've got a contract in place, I'm just going to kick my feet back and do nothing, because that's just football. I'm telling you, this guy has been a promoter his entire career. It's what he does. I promise you this. The non-revenue sports there will begin to get more attention than every other non-revenue. I don't know if they'll ever start making money, but they might start paying for themselves. But they will get more interest at all their non-revenue things than they've ever gotten. Because that's what this guy does.
Maybe so. That is the Conference of Champions. They have won more track and field and volleyball and gymnastics and whatnot national titles than pretty much any other conference.
Well, some of that's because they compete in so many more sports.
Olympic sports.
Everybody, they compete in all the Olympic sports. The ACC, the SEC, the Big Ten. They don't compete in any of that crap. Or the Big 12. Yeah. They don't compete in any of it. And so, outside
we say any of it, anybody that's watching, we understand there are some that jump in, right?
Well,
but
everybody's got a gymnastics team, but zero of our schools have volleyball or rowing. None of them.
That's true.
They all got rowing. It's a lot of ancillary sports like that. So you get to chalk up a bunch of championships, and then you get to call yourself this weird ass name. Okay,
I agree.
It's just a title you gave yourself.
It's part of
Alabama says it got 38 championships. That's right. People make stuff up all the time.
Every time.
All the time. People make stuff up constantly.
Such a hater.
It's not a lot.
Northwestern AD Mike Polisky has resigned after only 10 days on the job.
What did he make on those 10 days?
They never announced that.
I'm really, but they're a private school, so they don't have to. I'm really curious. Was this financially a good thing for him? Did he get severed out because he
Probably.
resigned? He quit. Do you think they paid him to leave?
He resigned. My guess is he probably got a check.
But surely he didn't get like his contract check, right? Like, I signed a 3-year deal. We're not paying you the full 3 years for 10 days worth of work.
They might have given him like
a year
and a half.
Year and a half. I'd have taken that.
Honestly, they might have given him the full 3.
I can screw a job up in 10 days, no problem.
I'll tell you this: it's a private school. That info ain't ever coming out.
Oh no, we'll never know.
So
we'll never know.
It likely. Like, they likely may have just paid him the whole thing and said, hey, we need you to release a statement.
That's a lot of money.
Well, because all the stuff that's happening, right? So here's what ended up happening.
Yeah, let's get into the story of
He
it.
was previously, he was the deputy athletic director for external affairs. He'd been there for a decade.
Yes.
I mean, been there forever, under Pat Fitzgerald, under the former AD, Jim Phillips, who is now the ACC commissioner.
Right.
Like, he has been there to see this growth at Northwestern for a long, long time. He is one of 4 defendants in a lawsuit filed against the university in January by a former Northwestern cheerleader. On top of that, he was named in another lawsuit. There was a basketball player that claimed that even though he was on a medical scholarship, he still had to work for his scholarship, like a medical release or whatever. He was a basketball player that had to medically retire, but this guy, Polisky, told him, to keep your scholarship, you still have to work. Like, you have to be a janitor. You have to work and whatever.
The student work program.
Yeah. But technically that wasn't correct. Like, it was just a whole thing that he made. It's a whole mess. There's a lot that is going on in this situation. Apparently, he did a really good job as the deputy director for external affairs. I don't know anything about that. What I do know is President Morty Shapiro made this hire, did not schedule a press conference. They released it to the public, but then he, the president,
was on
left
vacation
and went on vacation immediately upon making the hire.
It's weird.
And kind of, I don't think it's weird. I think he thought it was just going to blow over, and it did not blow over.
He thought maybe we're basically making an in-house hire.
Yeah.
There's no news here.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to leave.
So what ended up happening is
There happens to be news here.
Students have been protesting.
Yeah.
It has been a debacle. Like, this president that just left, thought there would be no news, thought it was no big deal, just released a book in March about fundamentalist divide, and he did not see an issue with this hire. Like, this was an incredibly contentious hire, and I was shocked a little bit that they made it, because knowing what we know, what was going on there, because we're friends with some guys from there.
We're close to that program.
I think you and I both initially thought, not knowing a whole lot at first, thought he would be a good hire.
Yeah.
Did not realize how
I didn't know about any
how
of the lawsuits.
contested it would be.
I didn't know about any of the lawsuits. And that's the problem that you get, right? Is if the guy is actively defendant in the lawsuits, you can't hire this person until you know the outcome of the lawsuits. Okay?
Right.
Because you don't know the information. You need to see what's happening in the lawsuits. You need to see what information comes out from the lawsuits. Then you need to see the outcome of the lawsuit, because he might not be eligible for hire after the lawsuits, depending on how the verdict goes. So this just bad. That's just bad business. That's just not smart. Not that you can't hire him. I'm working under the assumption that the reason he was hired is because he's a really good fundraiser. The boosters that run programs all have a good relationship with him. They probably wanted to keep somebody in-house instead of going somebody out-house, because right now, all those boosters have the indoor.
Yes.
Okay? When they call, they know who they are, and they pick up the phone.
And something
you
happens.
hire somebody that doesn't know their name, they're just going to get a rando phone call, and they're not going to know that they're going to send it to voicemail, whatever. Like, you're not going to get the attention that you're going to get from somebody who already knows you and that you have a relationship with.
Now, I will say this. We are friends with the guys that run a podcast called Westlot Pirates.
Yep.
And they explained it incredibly well.
Yeah, they do a good job.
The situation here, that obviously right before he resigned, there was 140-something different athletes and former alumni, et cetera, like big-name people that signed a statement in support of this guy. And they explained it as, they were signing this because they knew that this was about to happen, and they wanted like a boost for him when he leaves.
Yeah.
And that makes perfect sense, right? But they go through the entire situation and explain it in much better detail and more in depth. So if you're more interested and you want to hear about an hour of discussion about it, it's really interesting to go listen to them. But yeah, this was it was interesting
because of the problems that
Northwestern doesn't like to have. They pride themselves on not being like a booster run program.
Yes,
but if you're going to be a big time football operation,
well, I think
that tends to happen.
So this is it. I think they're learning. I think this hire was made because they know they want to take that next step. They need whoever the athletic director is to have a relationship with the boosters. And there's a divide between people that want Northwestern to stay the clean-cut private school that they've been. We're the good boys. We might not win all these football games, but by God, we're going to do it right, okay? And then you've got this other side that says we've been good boys for a long time, and now that we've seen other good boys, Stanford, these other places, get good at football, okay? There's a way to do it, and now you got to start skirting lines, and we're okay with that. And these people are the people that are paying the bills, and that's the issue that you're having is if you stop making these people happy to appease these people, I don't know how that works out.
I have no idea.
Because these people are the active students currently and a portion of the alumni base, but that alumni base isn't paying the bills.
You have a very strong point. I don't know what's going to happen with this hire. I can't tell if they want to be serious about football because, again, this is a football show, but we shall see. Finally, we'll close out the news with this. Fox gave us our first 3 games that we know are going to be televised. And what do we got? Thursday, September 2nd, Ohio State at Minnesota. Don't have a time for that yet, I would imagine.
It's a night game.
It's 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. Eastern, one or the other. So that's your first Thursday night game.
It's on Thursday.
Saturday, September the 11th. This goes back to that Pac-12 commissioner thing you were talking about.
Yep.
Oregon at Ohio State is at 12 p.m. Eastern time, which is 9 a.m. body clock time for the Oregon Ducks. I went back and looked, by the way. All the way back to 2008, which is the last time that I could find actual game times. They have not played earlier than 2 p.m. Eastern time at any point in the last 13 seasons.
That body clock thing is easily...
You can adjust for it.
But we live in a world where these kids aren't going to school the way they used to go to school. It's
Agreed.
September 11th. If they're even in class by then, I don't know. This is one of those situations where a week and a half, 10 days before this game, they need to be in Ohio.
Yeah.
You need to treat this game. This is a huge game for your conference and your school. This is the biggest game that you've had in a long time. You need to treat this game like a professional football game, which means we need to be there at least at minimum a week ahead of time.
They have a game in Eugene the week before. So
as soon as that game's over with, we're on a plane.
Yeah.
We're on a plane. We're leaving home. We have our bags packed, everything, and we're flying to Ohio.
And we're going to adjust.
We're just going to live here. We're going to stay here. We're going to sleep here. And that Sunday is going to be weird. And Monday, things will start getting normal. And Tuesday, it'll be real normal. And by Thursday or Friday, you're fine.
Yep. That's what I hope they do.
That's exactly what I would do. If Mario Cristobal's worth half the salt that you think he is, that's what they will do. If they fly in on Friday night, they're going to get their ass whipped.
Well, remember, there's a whole lot that goes into it besides Mario Cristobal. He has to have the okay from the AD, the president, all these people that are
right. You're right. These big-time college coaches that are the highest-paid people in the state have no say or opinion in any of it.
I do believe he does have a say, and I do believe that this will happen.
I do believe that if he says it, it will happen. If he says nothing, it won't, and then he gets to say it ain't on me.
That's a valid point.
You don't get to say the athletic director wouldn't let us go. No, you publicly say the athletic director won't let us go. We're going anyway, and then by the time we get back, the athletic director's been fired. And
that's a good point.
And you get to name the new athletic director.
That's a good point.
That's what happens.
I'd like that.
This is not Texas Tech. This is not some middling school, okay?
No, this is a playoff contender.
This is power football program. This is I'm texting Phil Knight, and we're going. Phil's got us a G5, and we're on our way there.
And we're ready to roll. The last one, by the way, Saturday, November 27th, Ohio State at Michigan will be 12 p.m. Eastern time. It's the big noon kickoff on Fox. All of these make perfect sense. So, of course,
Ohio State.
The first three that they're going to announce, all Ohio State games. So, is what it is. But yeah, if I'm the Pac-12 commissioner, I'd be calling up Fox, and I'd be highly irritated.
Well, yeah.
And don't get me wrong, the big noon kickoff stuff.
It's a great game.
Has worked out well.
It's a great time. So I'm not upset with it. You got to figure something out for us. That's good for your Big Ten conference stuff.
We are more the 3:30 Eastern time.
You have to figure something out for us because this is where we live.
Yep. I agree.
I wouldn't call them and say y'all play, a 9 o'clock West Coast kickoff and you're on East Coast time and making you play at midnight your body clock. I wouldn't do that.
That's true. That is true. And obviously the television networks wouldn't want that. So,
Pac-12 after dark, baby.
But that's Pac-12 teams. They wouldn't want it for the other ones, though. All right, moving on. We had ourselves a championship football game on Sunday.
Yeah, we did.
And it didn't go the way that we thought it would.
No, it was a fun game, though.
It was entertaining as hell.
I whine and I complain because I lost all my bets. But it really was a fun game. Once the rain was gone, I enjoyed every bit of this game.
Oh, most certainly. Most certainly. Sam Houston State upset the number 1 ranked South Dakota State Jackrabbits. And I'll go ahead and tell you, it was 23-21. That was the final. The weather delays. We had over 70 minutes of weather delays. That really kind of turned this thing another direction. What really turned it the other direction was South Dakota State's quarterback getting injured early on. Mark Gronowski went out with an injury first drive, like first quarter. Isaiah Davis, obviously they played well enough to win without him.
I don't know. They just weren't an offensive football team, man. They were winning games, very low scoring. They still scored 21 points. That's what I thought they would score.
Yeah, but this guy was an all-conference quarterback. He had played well all season.
You say he played well, but he didn't put up 35, 40 points the last couple of weeks. He put up points in the 20s, right?
They beat Delaware 33-3.
Okay,
not that long ago. I'm telling you this, it's not the reason why they lost, especially because they had time to adjust.
They won games because they beat Delaware 33-3. You know why they scored 33?
It was defense.
Because they got the ball back all the time.
Yes.
Because Delaware couldn't score.
Sam Houston, look, South Dakota State had no answer for Jaquez Ezzard. He is going to be an NFL dude, 100%.
You think so?
He is so quick. At Howard, he did basically nothing. The story behind him. He was cleaning up like a janitor at Howard. That was how he was staying on at the school. He was working and had nothing his first 2 seasons there. In 2018 at Howard, he averaged 26.6 yards per catch on 40 catches with 12 touchdowns. Transferred, sat out 2019, played this year with Sam Houston State, averaged 26.9 yards per catch on 28 catches with 7 touchdowns. This game, he had 10 catches for 108 yards and 2 touchdowns. Why didn't they use him more often? I don't understand that. I'll tell you this. He's an All-American punt returner. This dude is lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
So he was a ton of fun to watch.
they couldn't stop him.
But nobody's been able to all year.
No,
so,
this defense was unbelievable for the Jackrabbits all year long, and it looked like the weather delay wore them out. It was the end of the game, the fourth quarter. They couldn't stop drives. They could not get off the field.
Yep. Sam Houston quarterback Eric Schmid, 20 out of 37, 209 yards, 3 touchdowns. He rushed 13 times for 54 yards. They couldn't figure out a way to get him off the field.
Yeah.
At the end, they run the ball. They get the 24-21 lead, or whatever it was, 21-17 lead.
21-17 lead, yeah.
And then they give up a drive that they typically always found a way to stop.
Yep.
And end up losing 23-21. It was a hell of a game. It was a hell of a season. This was fun. Sam Houston's first FCS title.
They got them down to 4th down.
Yeah.
A couple of times in that drive. They just couldn't get off the drive.
I agree. Not a lot to Not a lot to break down with that. We had a lot of news to talk about this week.
All I can tell you about the FCS thing is I was very out on the FCS because I've never really cared about it. I know about it, okay? I've heard of these teams. I know some of them are good. Listen, I watch big boy college football, okay? I watch good – I don't watch the crappy college football. I watch big boy college football. So I never really cared. I watched this year because it was in the spring. I think they need to move to the spring all the time. I see zero negatives in it at all. I don't see one single downside. I think if you're a CBS Sports network channel that's struggling for content, NBC Sports has their own network channel that's struggling for inventory.
I think NBC Sports is
going away because they don't have inventory, right? Yeah. If you're Fox right now in your sports channel, like you're struggling for inventory, any of those networks goes to the FCS and makes a deal with them, you're going to get them at the best bargain. Whatever you pay for it is going to be cheaper than anything else you're putting out there. And B, it's also going to be more money than these schools have ever been given.
That's true.
So that's going to be a great deal for both of you. Get it off the streaming, get it onto a real TV where you can generate ad revenue. And right now, live sports is the only thing getting paid commercials. It's it. That's it.
That's true.
I'm telling you, these TV networks need to do this, and they need to tell these schools, we'll pick you up, but you got to keep it in the spring.
The only negative here is if any of them are NFL guys.
No, then they just won't play their senior year. None of these guys are NFL guys going out in their junior year.
I don't know. I mean, I do like the idea. Because
Trey Lance was an anomaly, an absolute anomaly.
Yeah.
Everybody, no one's going their junior year if you're an FCS kid. Nobody's a 3-year project, which means you're going to get 3 years of playing time, and then you sit out your senior year, and you get to go to one of these NFL-specific camps.
That's a good point.
Northern Iowa had multiple players drafted. Not Northern Iowa. Well,
no, Northern Iowa did have 2 guys.
Yeah, they had 2 guys. Yeah, multiple
defensive lineman and an offensive lineman.
Multiple players drafted.
North Dakota State as well. South Dakota State had a dude.
So you could still get drafted and play in this season if you want. Or
none of those guys actually played.
But that's what I'm saying. You don't have to. You go. You know how you guarantee you get drafted? You sit that senior year out and you go to a place that specifically gets you ready for the NFL.
That's a good point.
Those guys are definitely. I don't think anybody that goes to those places are not getting drafted.
I think you got a valid.
I'm telling you, there's zero negative in doing this.
There you go. I think we're going to wrap up the show.
I'm good with that.
I'm good with that. All right. You guys have been fantastic. Jump in the comments. Tell us what you want us to talk about. We've got Memorial Day coming up. We got a whole lot of other things happening as well. So hit us up. We are on Twitter. I am at Gary WCE.
I'm at Chris B. Giannini.
And we have got a season coming up pretty soon. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Make sure you like this video. We get to 50 likes, and it starts to throw that algorithm into straight chaos and pushes it out to a whole bunch of other people. So tell your friends about the show. Go sign into your mama's account and get her to like the video as well. Get us to 50 likes. We would certainly appreciate that. And keep it subscribing. We're trying to get to 100,000 subscribers by football season. I think we could do it. I really think we can do it. So we're going to keep pushing this thing. But we appreciate you guys for being here and for letting us be a part of your week. So go to sbrpicks.com/NCAAF and make sure, again, that you are subscribed, that you've liked the video, that you've commented, you've jumped in with your thoughts on the show this week, etc. Anything else we need to hit?
That's it, brother.
That is it. All right, we're going to wrap it up. For sportsbookreview.com, I'm Gary.
And I'm Chris.
And we will see you again next week.